and North Derbyshire.
Zancy Palmer. BBC Radio Sheffield.
The time now is 7:51. Xanthi Palmer in for Ellie at breakfast here on BBC Radio Sheffield. Now, since the start of the year, Sheffield has been in shock, really, at the stabbing of 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose at All Saints Catholic High. On Friday, another 15-year-old boy who'd already admitted manslaughter was found guilty of his murder. Harvey's sister, Sophie, spoke afterwards on behalf of his family.
On the 3rd of February, we didn't just lose Harvey, we lost part of ourselves. Our lives changed forever that day. In Harvey's memory, we will continue to speak out. We will raise awareness about the devastating impact of knife crime and campaign for safer schools, stronger communities and a better, safer future for not just our children, but us all.
Harvey's sister, Sophie, talking there. Well, the BBC's Polly Bayfield sat down with some of Harvey's closest friends to see how they're feeling and how they think knife crime should be dealt with.
I still don't feel real right now. It's not proper sunk in yet, but every day I still think about him because he was my best friend. So
same with me. I was just in my living room and I seen it on people's stories and I didn't believe it at first, and then I put it on my story and we all set some balloons off for him and that, and then it still don't feel real that it's actually happened to him. Nicest kid you could ever meet, to be honest. Just always there to do something with, and he's just always nice to you.
Whenever you seen him, he always put a smile on your face. He always made something funny, you know what I mean, and tried to he made a joke and it were always funny. And he always put a smile on your face, or you know what I mean, he always made somebody laugh.
One thing that comes up a few times when people talk about knife crime, but especially when I've spoken to people your age about knife crime, is there's this kind of worry that, especially during the summer holidays, there isn't a lot of stuff to do for people your age, and sometimes you run the risk of, if there isn't enough for young people to do, you run the risk of them going into finding stuff for them to do themselves.
Oh yeah, we're no angels, don't get me wrong, we have been naughty back a few times, but that's because there's nothing else for us to do you know what I mean, and at time it's good getting chased and there's nothing else for us to do.
If you guys could be in charge of the country for a day and someone says to you, we need to tackle knife crime, what is the first thing you guys are doing?
Making sure that schools have got knife archers, and then making sure that schools are on top with the students with searches and stuff, especially when they're coming in and out of school.
Just make sure there's no knives about in anyone's pocket, bag or anything like that.
You'll never be able to stop it fully because it's nowadays it's easy to get a knife, do you know what I mean? Do you know, it's too easy to...
It's becoming a lot more available to the younger ages, especially.
Yeah, it's too easy for people to get them nowadays. That's why people are using them. People my age will think it's good to carry them because they've seen people older carry them. That cycle just keeps going and going and going.
Some really interesting points there, and so sad just to hear, lads same age as Harvey's best mates, still not even sunk in for them yet. Sahira Ershad is one of the founders of Mums United and is with us this morning. Sahira, this case has just been... It's just been so awful, hasn't it, for people across that, well, for everywhere. It was just all, I remember at the time when it happened, it was just a national story. It shocked everybody. How do you feel looking back at it all? Now it's sort of concluded and we've had somebody found guilty of this.
Yeah, thank you for having me on this morning. My heart goes out to Harvey Wilgoose's family. I think their journey is beginning now. It's never ending. It's a tragedy. It's so heartbreaking that so many lives have been impacted, and the children at school are still, traumatized from what's happened. So it's sad that there's no winners in this. There's two mothers who have lost their children to knife crime. So many people have been impacted within the community, and I think it's time now for us to recognise that knife crime is an endemic. It is a serious problem of youth violence in our communities, and we have to acknowledge and we have to recognise that it's a serious problem. Unless we don't do that, we're always going to be having these conversations. We've seen so many families lose their children to youth violence across the years. Their stories are not heard in the media. So we must recognise that we have a problem. There's been organisations before us, like Aspire Boxing, that have been talking about knife crime for decades. So it's not a new problem. It's a problem that's existed, and it's not decreasing. You know, the young people carrying knives is increasing, and these knives are readily available from the kitchen.
Well, we just heard that, didn't we, from those young boys, you know, friends of Harvey, saying it's so accessible. They actually said it's too easy to get a knife. Anybody can get a knife now. That barrier is virtually non-existent for kids to get hold of it, something like a knife and other weapons. How do we tackle something like this? I mean, I know this is a big question to ask just you, but what's your perspective? What do we need to do about this?
I think it's like you said, knives are easily available. They're in the kitchen. They don't need to really go online to get knives. So it's about changing the mindset of the young person. It's about kind of getting them to recognize that, you know, there are serious consequences for carrying a knife, and it goes under the umbrella of youth violence. It's a wider issue, and for me, it's about targeting young people from the age of 10 and upwards, because every young person is carrying a phone. And on that phone, you have all the apps readily available, and our young children are becoming desensitized to sex and violence. And it's becoming a normal behavior. So for me, it's a question of, you know, we can put the knife archers up, we can search the young people, but they will always carry the knives out, whether it's outside school or inside school or, you know, within the community. So it's about changing the mindset, and it's about prevention as well. So I think that is key. We need our local politicians, the government, to recognise that we have a serious problem and that we need something tangible in place to help our youth.
I think that's a really interesting point. You know, we can have all these knife archers and amnesty bins and such, but that relies on honesty and people feeling comfortable enough to put a knife in a bin, but they can easily just get another one. It's addressing that mindset that, you know, encourages them to feel the need to have a knife in the first place. That's the issue, isn't it? And I think that's a really interesting point, starting kids at 10 years old in whatever setting, if we can, in school, at home, and trying to educate them. It's a mammoth task, and it's going to require, you know, more than just sort of, we can do it in our own way, can't we? But we do, like you say, it's got to be something national. It's got to be taken seriously. Sahira, thank you so much for speaking to us. Saira Ishrad there, apologies, one of the founders of Sheffield charity